Hello, starting today with Saturn through houses, and I'm going to just do this generic video. The first one will be all about what is Saturn really all about. So Saturn is one of the most important planets in Vedic astrology, in the sense that it deals at our karma. So wherever Saturn is, it's basically where we're paying our karma to the world in our natal chart. Obviously, do always bear in mind that despite the fact that you're born with a certain placements, but actually every dashas are planetary periods which are very unique to Vedic astrology. Your chart changes, even though the underlying thing is your D1 or your natal chart, but really is on top of it during those years that that particular planet is ruling your life. You're doing more, you can read your chart from there, so this could change according to that. But this, obviously we know that the natal chart is literally the flavor of what we are. But I'm sure we all see that we definitely change every year when we are younger, and every decade or so we change dramatically as well as we work through our karmas. And some karmas, we work through and basically it's done, so it doesn't mean that we're going to be repeating those issues again and again. This is one of the most important things as well to know, is that for Saturn is very strong in the 7th house, because it's planet of community, other people, marriage, commitment. Therefore, if you have a difficult issues, difficult Saturn in your chart, it's really good to work on. I mean, if you have got a strong Venus, then that's fine. And also, if you've got strong Jupiter, that's very good too. But Venus and Saturn, really, they rule all the most important houses in the chart, which is 2nd house and 7th house of Venus, and 10th and 11th house of the natural zodiac are ruled by Saturn. So Saturn for us is the planet, we always look at it from Aries ascendant. It rules 10th house of career, karma and status, and 11th house, which is house of gains, and house of elder sibling. So it's a wealth and work. For Venus is 2nd house of family, savings, values, self-love, and 7th house of relationships and working with the others. So when they get together, this is how relationships are built, basically, because if you've got a good Venus and good Saturn, you really work at it. And so if you're finding that in your chart, your Saturn is very strong and it holds you back, or it's very weak, when it's very weak, like a debilitated Saturn, it's really, particularly in the 1st or 7th house, it can be quite difficult, because the person only ever sees the lack. They can give up on things before even start it. Therefore, it's quite good to work on Saturn. Saturn is literally hard work, putting your back into it and getting results. And the moment you do it with Saturn never ever denies you anything, but it wants you to deliver, and it wants you to be consistent and persistent. So let's go through some of the things to do with Saturn. Saturn is monotony. It's routine. Responsibility is our duty, commitment, fear, worry, seriousness, actually having lack, feeling the lack for anything. Maturity, reliability is humanitarian. It's unhappiness, discipline. It likes fairness, really, in everything. Wherever it sits in our chart, that part of our life, we're always very hard on ourselves. And it's rules it's dry and it's stressful. It rules kind of laws of the land. Sometimes even the unspoken laws will be to do with Saturn. It's like planet of humbleness and integrity, really. It's rules and regulations. It's respect and respecting others, basically. It's always seeing what is not done. So you could have a list, and person who's got a good Venus, they think, okay, I had 10 things on my list, I did 2, excellent, I now deserve a cup of tea, and they go and treat themselves, and there's no guilt attached. Well, it's very different for Saturn. Saturn is always guilt driven. So therefore, it's like, even if they did 2 jobs and they were massively busy and there were big jobs to do in a day, they is still hard on themselves that they didn't do the other 8. So their view of life is very much like glass half empty. But they are loyal, hardworking. As I said, they love a routine. They like everything to be just so. Steadfast. They that term, talk the talk, walk the walk. They probably even don't even talk, but they certainly walk the walk, because they're not really having Saturn on your first house. It kind of limits everything. It can, wherever it's sitting, it kind of contracts that. It also rules elderly people, sick or disabled people. It's longevity. It's also death, delays, isolation, community, and above everything else is service. So these are all the indications of Saturn. So what we do now, we'll go through and do it through the houses. Saturn is friendly with Venus, very good friends with Venus, and also with Mercury. And it also does pretty well with Ketu. But it's definitely not friendly with the Sun or the Moon or even Mars, although Mars is neutral with Saturn. And Rahu as well. Rahu, Saturn are not good together either. So this is how you can see. So you can see that Saturn is going to do really well in own sign, rules Capricorn, and rules Motricona sign, which is like the head office sign. It's very strong. Is in the 11th house of the natural zodiac, which is house of kind of groups, networks, likes to be with other people and actually contributing to everything. And it's exalted in Libra and debilitated in Mars. Exalted in the sign of other people, marriage, committing, working with other people, and diplomacy. But sign of Aries, which is all about me, myself and I, is not happy there, because obviously it's a sign of me being singular, and also sign of Mars, which is an enemy to it considers Mars as an enemy. And so we just want to kind of like, this is one of those things that when you have a weak Saturn in your chart, you really it's very hard to get a grip of life, and things for people will be seriously delayed, and people, like mothers and fathers, could start worrying about the child because they just feel as though they are not really grasping things in life and solidifying anything. And also it can make the child very worryful as well. So I find that when Saturn is in your first house, in your 7th house, it's your Atmakarka, or is sitting with your ascendant lord, the child, everything for the child will be delayed. They'll be more stressed than normal. They'll be very dutiful. They always worry. They have this fear. So as a mother, it's very important to just like have compassion for them, because these children are real humanitarian. If they are really looked after and nurtured, so they can actually there's that trust thing going on, then you do well and they do well too. And so don't literally, be aware that they are not sometimes, it could be that, I'm not saying this every person, it depends on the chart, but don't they feel the pain of anything, because obviously they feel as though if they didn't do very well in a test, or they didn't do a job to the way their parents wanted to. They carry this terrible guilt, and they feel as though they let you and the family down, so they already suffer with a lot of guilt anyway. So it's really good when we are kind of, even with, if you have a partner who has or children, siblings, friends and everything else, we just got to realize that's where they're coming from. It's really, really important. So anyway, let's talk about the Saturn through signs, through houses. Thank you. Saturn has special aspects. It's obviously where it's sitting. It always, like all other planet aspects, 7 houses away. It also has special aspects, which is 3rd house and 10 houses away. The house that it's actually 3 houses away, but you always count so if it was in the 1st house, so you count 1st, 2nd, 3rd. So 3rd house will be where you'll be putting the effort in. So 3rd house is away from where it's sitting, and then 10 houses away from it, which is where you're paying karma to the world for from Saturn's viewpoint. So it's not necessarily for some people who've got Saturn in the 5th house, is 10 houses from that. It's not going to be necessarily your work one, but nonetheless though, it's something that you're paying karma on the world too. Okay, let's make a start on this. Saturn in the 9th house. 9th house, obviously a trinal house, so it's a very strong position. It's the natural 9th house of the zodiac is Sagittarius, which is ruled by Jupiter. This will bring both the two together. And 9th house of focus too, like Sagittarius, having a goal and going for it. So this will be like your house of happiness, good luck and good fortune. Saturn being there, delaying everything. This is also a house of higher education, learnings, higher learnings, publishing, gives you a flavour of who your father is. It's all the kind of masters and PhD, all of those fall into this category as well. It's your, above everything, I think it's the belief system, religion, not spirituality. This is house of religion. It's house of pilgrimage. It's house of ancient wisdom, classics, culture, traditions. Obviously house of travel. And it's house of psychology, psychotherapy, philosophy, those kind of things. When Saturn obviously comes into this house, it's an interesting one, because Saturn and Jupiter coming together is quite interesting, because it's a little bit. I'm going to do a series. I decided yesterday that I think I'm going to do a series on Saturn's conjunctions with other planets, and obviously you can apply that to the signs as well, because every sign is ruled by a planet, and naturally it will be quite similar to that as well. But generally, Saturn is going to be like, so it's almost like a risk assessor. He always sees the lack before he sees the opportunity. Whereas Jupiter is all about opportunity. This is Saturn, which is like, oh, the lack. What if I did this? This could happen. So don't want to miss out on my notes, because I made quite a lot of notes. So this is obviously shows the way you are with your dad. So this gives you an idea about your dads. So it can give a father who is aloof, who is strict, unavailable, maybe even, or there could even be like a separation in the relationship between you and your father. And this will echo also in your teachings, your teacher, your guru, that kind of thing. And also being house of luck, it shows you how lucky you feel in life, and delays your luck. And this is another thing I want to say. Even though it makes you, delays your luck, you kind of know there's an optimism in that. That eventually things will work out. That's what I want to just say. It's not like doom and gloom in any way, because in your heart you know that everything that's worthwhile will be down the road. There is that optimism of Jupiter in this sign, in this placement. Can separate you from higher education, depending on the condition of Saturn, etc. Due to maybe your family move, due to education, that situation, that kind of thing can have a setback in lack of that kind of thing. And let's just get rid of that. Yes. And anyway, so, but well, in a sense, what will happen is with your education you get second luck. So even if there is disruptions and a break in your education continuity, you'll return to that and things will be just fine. But what Saturn is trying to do though, is trying to because wherever Saturn is, obviously things mature a bit later. So there is like an opportunity there for you to learn from University of Life and apply that more, because these people, because Saturn develops a little bit later, we can be a little bit naive about things. So that opportunity is there for us to grow as a person, as a soul, so that we can actually deal with the with life situation, how the world is today. We need that extra time. It also is House of Contracts too, what you sign, like when you actually make a marriage strong. So obviously having Saturn there just means that these people are not going to be really interested, even though it doesn't aspect the 7th house or anything. However, it's House of Contracts. So if these people are not shy of committing in a relationship in any way, and but they could have, depending again on how Saturn is, they could have a very strange relationship with they could be like really dogged down and feel a lot of responsibility about the religion that they brought up into or born into. It's like, they could see it as like, it's hard work, it's tedious, it's that kind of thing. So they might not necessarily agree with everything to do with their religion, and that's fair enough, isn't it? So, and so they could actually question some of the rituals to do with the religion. But no, I don't want you to think that, but it's a questioning thing, that's all. Or some of the texts or something they could read and just think that doesn't sit comfortably with them. But they're not going to be moving and shaking. This is not like going to be like Mars that just going to just do something about it. Not at all. Anyway, and they will actually come into their own as they get older, and they will just have their own religion and their own belief system. More than anything, belief system, I would say, because I think they're quite respectful of religion, full stop anyway, because Saturn is respectful, conservative, and quite happy to just be sticking with traditions. But obviously, because of that, they could have quite a rigid, they could also be like quite rigid in their thinking about their belief system, and they might not really entertain people who are not think the same of them, like for example the group that they're very close with, like themselves and their friends and everything. They want to be with people, groups of friends that they share a theme together. So that's again, it could be slightly against but they're not going to rock the boat in any way, because they are kind of respectful of religion, really, that kind of thing. So because they're interested in education and classics, history, that kind of thing. They are literally self-educators. Even if they go to a university and get their degree, their PhD and etc., they still are like education is important to them, like constantly updating and being aware is part of what they are. Particularly really interested in things that are to do with fairness, to do with humanitarian studies, things that everybody can benefit from, because don't forget, from there also by 10th aspect, this, which is the karma from that house, falls onto the 6th house, so they are very aware of that kind of thing. and but they're not going to necessarily, because they question, like question the third house in the media, social media. They kind of question that. They question, and they want to do things on a much more what's the term that I want to use? It's like much more down to earth way of thinking, you know, like not spending all that money. And is that whatever the other people are saying, is that going to really work? You know, is there a cheaper way of dealing with it? Is there much more, you know, can we conserve this? They're not going to be into like big expensive things. They just want to keep it nice and affordable for all. There is blockages in really experiencing and getting the fruits from this house, because obviously Saturn is sitting there blocking it, making it feel like there's a lack there. And so this is obviously, you know, a lack of anything. You know, what could go wrong? They've got this risk assessing thing going on all the time. You know, what if this goes wrong? And that could also hold them back. But, you know, once they really hit, I think probably even older than 36, the more this gets mature, the better this house becomes. And then they become quite the educator, and they're really very good at spreading the word. Only if people, they're not going to be the sort of people, because it aspects the third house, they're not going to initiate the conversation. But if somebody asks them, they're very learned, so they can actually teach. You know, they have so much information, and they just continue gathering information too. And that information stack can be, you know, like as and when people ask, like for example, you know, how can I get it? Because obviously it's aspecting 11th house, 3rd house, and 6th house. If somebody wants, for example, they're poorly or something, you know, what supplements can I take? And they just probably have got a little glossary of all forms of information in their head that they can tap into at any time. It does give you a wide range of possibilities, this, so it's pretty good. So let's have a look at the aspect to the 11th house. So the 11th house is house of desires. So these people want to have something in common with their friends, and the belief system will be the first one. And also their interest, because it's also aspect in 3rd house of interest. So their friends they want to do things with, generally speaking, you know, or they could have different groups for different things and keep them quite separate as well, because that is also Saturn. So but they want to be with people who are cultured, well-travelled, because obviously aspects of 6th house. So there's always something nurturing about the way they look at things. It also gives a refined palette as well, especially if Saturn's strong, in that these people are not into traveling for 2 weeks and just sitting on the beach and taking in the sun's rays, which is nothing wrong with it, but these are not this sort of people. They probably will choose a resort which has got a beach, but it's got places of interest, ancient ruins or museums, and they want to go to local cafes and restaurants and eat the local cuisine, speak to the locals, and just learn some traditional things about that place. So they want to actually experience the area, find out a little bit about the history of that place. That will be more their thing than just going somewhere, you know, and just lying. And that will probably, you know, they want have an experience, if you like. And somehow they collect people that they will eventually meet again. And because, you know, this is like house of classics, you know, things that are just old and they get recycled. So they probably got some form of karma with those sort of people. And they might do something together at some point, something maybe for the which is good for the locals or something like that. There's always like they think long term about everything. So their investments, and they could gain quite well out of their 11th house too, because Saturn will make them put a lot of effort into their friends, into their groups. And there is this sense of like conserving everything. Not in a like you know, the way the government wants to do things. This will be very much like at a level which is very easy to do, you know, like recycling, for example, things like wrapping papers and things, and they will reuse them again. They're very higher thinking in that sense. Third house aspect of it will make it so that the relationships with they're not very great communicators really, because Saturn kind of stops that a little bit. But when they do, it's functional. It's like, they're not going to have all these like checking in on people every day, that sort of thing. It's not their thing. But if it's very much like, okay, so we're meeting there, this is the time, see you there, that's it. They're going to be quite conservative with that, but traditional in the sense that respectful. They're not going to. It's not going to be like Mars, like it says what it says. No, but they just they probably, yeah. I mean, and I wouldn't say they are the biggest communicators, but they do their best to just like be precise and say what they want to say. They also could have like a few issues with their siblings, or not see them so much really. Only not necessarily because of anything else. It could be that higher education, one goes to one university, then they move to that area where the university is, or somebody else gets married and they move. Not because there's issues or anything, but it could be separation just purely because of each sibling's situation. And live in different areas, different communities, things like that. So the way their communication skills will be very functional, but they're not into gossiping, they're not into chit chat, get to the point. Sixth house aspect, which is by the 10th, so they feel this a karmic thing that they need to do for the community, is do something as a form of like service to the community. They might not even be aware of it, but they are the sort of people who are walking down the streets and they see some litter and put it in the bin, or they see like there is a bit of glass on the road, they'll pick it up because they're aware somebody's tire might get damaged by it. They just, even if they don't do anything massive, they are very aware of those kind of things. They also have this understanding, they just feel like there is, because also from in a natural zodiac, it will be aspecting the 6th house, which will be Virgo. So this house of service and doing things for the community, for the betterment of everybody's health and well-being. What they do is they just, without even realizing, their energy is quite healing. They have this wonderful energy source, which people can benefit from it. So they could be in jobs that are healing, personal trainers, yoga teachers, care workers, nurses. And they could also devote time to rescue animals and the elderly and the sick. They just kind of notice that thing. It's things that they actually feel, generally speaking. They also see that they like to contribute to the society's betterment, but obviously that all depends on how weak or strong your Saturn is really in that sense. So let's have a look at the ascendants. For Aries ascendant, this will be fantastic because this will be the 10th house ruler in the 9th house, Sagittarius, or 11th house ruler in the 9th house. So this brings a wonderful Raj Yoga, wonderful Dana Yoga as well. So it's amazing. And also they could just be that because it brings together 10th and 9th house together. Their education could be abroad. They could also, because of work, they could move abroad and live there. They are very, very interested in all things to do with far distance lands and other people's cultures. They love that. There is a possibility actually that they could be archaeologists or... Oh, I got a magpie just coming over to me here. That's amazing. So they could be archaeologists and things like, educate teachers, become a teacher abroad in a different country. They could also probably speak a foreign language too, because obviously from there, Saturn is aspecting, the 10th house rule is aspecting the 3rd house of speech. So in their work, they could also do a lot of talking, communicating. Maybe they do online teaching too. And they definitely, foreign language is something that they can easily tap into. So it's very good, very, very good. And obviously it's Jupiter, what do you call it? From there, obviously, it's going to be aspecting Saturn's. Saturn will be aspecting the 3 houses from the 11th house, protecting all the gains, and so they could actually bring a lot of wealth to them too for that reason. So it's pretty amazing, and protects that. And then obviously aspects the 3rd house of Gemini, and also Virgo, the 6th house. So, and the thing is for them, I would say, because aspecting their 6th house. Now, the answer to most diseases that are to do with houses of Mercury is generally moving. And generally speaking, for everybody, 6th house, Mercury needs to move. The more stagnant you are, particularly if you're working at a desk all day, you need to walk, you need to move, you need to exercise, dance, anything, any form of activity, keep yourself busy. And that's how you delay any form of disease in your life. So I would just say that anyway, because this is the natural 6th house of zodiac, but it goes for all ascendants. Then for Taurus ascendant, this will be your Yoga Karaka planet, Saturn, going into the 9th house. So it's nice and strong in Capricorn. And obviously what will happen is this is a really, really good Raj Yoga of high standard 10th ruler, 10th house and 9th house ruler in the 9th house. And it will bless all the houses it's looking at as well, just because it's a very important planet for you. However, these people, they can be really hard on yourself, just because the house of luck and happiness and all those opportunities and everything is ruled by Saturn, and is the most difficult sign for that it rules as well, because it's so strict. So these people can be really hard on themselves, and if there's breakage in their in their what you call like education or anything else, they could feel a bit of shame. They feel as though they've let their dad down, all that kind of stuff. So they could be really hard on themselves. So don't be. This is how it was meant to be, and obviously shows that the father is quite strict, quite conservative. So they probably didn't get that kind of love and attention and care from dad or from their teachers. Really, might have had quite strict teachers, and that's who they actually attract. From there, obviously aspecting the third house, which will be Cancer. And unfortunately, this just means that like when you have this. Anytime Saturn is sitting in or aspecting Cancer, it can be quite difficult in the sense that it shows, even though it's a 3rd house, there could be like a certain amount of pain that they feel to do with mother's nurture, home environment, and also the siblings feel as though it could be the relationship can at times feel a little bit like they're giving more than they're receiving, something like that. It does get better with time, and it is really not a problem, but it does make person a little bit fearful, and we've just been through that in the sky. So like Saturn was in Capricorn from 24th of January 2020 to 30th of April 2022. So it was a really harsh time where people felt fearful, anxious, and that it can make them a bit like that. So they're very, very security seeking too. And obviously it's aspecting the 6th house, which is by 10th aspect. So they will enjoy looking after other people, being of service. They just can create that loving feeling, like a nurse, really, really sweet nurse. Really, they are very good at that, very good at looking after other people in that sense. And the 3rd aspect to the 11th house, obviously, this is quite nice anyway. This is a yoga karaka planet, so it's just going to energize all those houses. It also means that they have got nice friends, respectable friends, and they obviously, can gain quite well, because it's also the 9th house ruler aspect in the 11th house, so very good. Then for Gemini ascendant, this can be like Saturn in own sign. So Saturn in Aquarius, 9th house. This is lovely, really nice. This is like 8th house ruler in the 9th house. And 8th house doesn't actually support any form of yoga at all. So that's is a really nice things for them. So for that, it's aspect in the 3rd house, which will be house of the Leo, 3rd house of communication and all of that. So that that their communication is going to be highly respectful. They got that demand in their voice because of Leo, and and obviously their siblings are quite up and coming people too, quite respected in the world, and their job, if they are doing some form of a job, they need to be very formal in their way of communication. It's not great actually aspect in that, so they might feel a little bit like relationship with siblings can be a little bit difficult at times, just because it's Saturn and Leo, and not very good. But again, like with anything with Saturn, always gets better with time. Then the 6th house is Saturn will be aspect in Scorpio. So that they could also work with chronically diseased people, working in industries such as like who deal with quite terminal kind of conditions people have, or they make really good mediators in that sense too in their jobs, where they could be counselling, they could be advising people in like I've forgotten the name of it actually in the UK, where Citizens Advice Bureau, so they could advise people because they can do a lot of research, get the information to the people and say, okay, if you have problems with debt, they're gonna just like the landlord wants you to vacate, they can help people, give them the really, really good advice to be able to look after themselves. And then obviously from there's aspect in the 11th house, which will be Aries, and that again they could have issues with their because this Aries is sign of debilitation for Saturn, so it could be that they can lose friends quite easily. They because they don't put effort into that, or when they put effort into it, it's just like there is some sort of issue there with gains and everything, just purely because it's their placement. So they need to work at that, really put the effort into it, because third aspect of Saturn is all about putting effort and energy into making something work, and for them they need to make it work with their elder sibling, with their groups of friends, in order to have gains and wealth. Then for Cancer ascendant, this will be Saturn, 9th house will be Pisces. Saturn in Pisces is a neutral sign, not too bad, and Saturn will be basically 7th and 8th lord in the 9th house. So it creates a nice Raj Yoga, and 8th house doesn't actually take anything away from any of the yogas at all. And this obviously will be somebody who travels, really into traveling, because this is now 9th house, and the 9th house is the 12th house of natural zodiac. Literally, they probably spend most of their money on something like that. And they also, put effort into their friends, and they probably have got lovely friends from whom they can have good times, enjoy just feel as though they're very close to them, because Taurus is very like family sign, if you like, enjoyment with friends, sharing with friends. And also they could gain quite well. Oh, I've got this like my video sticking. A bit of issue, so I might come back to this. Okay, I'm going to have another go, and I keep having problems, so apologise. I don't really know where I've got to with Cancer Ascendant, but obviously, what I wanted to say, really great gains. I know I did that, and the more effort you put into your elder siblings, your groups of friends, and everything, the more money you're going to have, the more wealth. From there, obviously, aspect in the third house. Third house, obviously, is a house that Cancer really, really struggles with in this, and now Saturn's aspect is there. So not being good at communicating can create discord, arguments, that kind of thing with friends, siblings, colleagues, etc., like that. So they really need to do that. They need to just, as soon as they get a message, just deal with it. They can procrastinate all these kind of things, and then all of a sudden becomes really overwhelming for them to deal with it. That is like a boundary setting situation now. So that's what Saturn is inviting you to do, to just deal with things as and when they occur, and that you are sorted. Then obviously, I'm not sure if I've already done this, but I'm going to say this anyway. But the sixth house is also the 10th aspect of Saturn from there. This means that they could become really good at teaching. They could educate others. They could, through the experiences that they go through, they could really learn a lot from those kind of things. They are very also, the more they actually give to other people and help other people, the better they're going to be, because this is natural ninth house of the zodiac. So travel and actually getting themselves into a situation where they can see how other people live, how some communities are really poor and all of that. Just learning about those sort of things opens their mind, and that could be really, really good for them. Connecting to the other side of life. So if you're quite come from quite good background, just to sort of see how the other half lives, it's not such a bad thing, and that's going to really help them really get the happiness from their life, and that actually burn off some karma too. They will do really well to look after rescued animals too. Wonderful. Okay, just going to check and see if this worked, because Mercury is still retrograde. Yes, having problems, tech issues. Leo Ascendant now. So Leo Ascendant, there, obviously your ninth house will be where Saturn is debilitated, in the ninth house. So you can see there are issues with the father. So maybe you don't feel as though you're up to the expectations of the dad, and you don't feel so lucky. Education could suffer. Could have issues with their family religion or family's belief system. That kind of thing can just be a little bit too much for you. But this is where it's amazing, because the more effort you put into it, the better you will get. The aspect of Saturn from this house for you guys is going to be really good, because third aspect is on a friendly sign, which is 11th house for you is the natural third house of the zodiac. So this is where speaking to your friends, being in the environment where you just connect with your friends more, you put effort into it, will really give you good gains and really good friends, nice networks. And you also can do things that are really good for all of you, if you like. And then from there is aspect in the third house, which is where this is the sign that exalts Saturn. And Saturn now for Leo Ascendant rules 6th and 7th house. When he's actually aspect in the third house, is that this will be a person who can be really good in jobs that are possibly really service of other people and make you happy. So whether it's like litigation secretary or helping in the community, care workers, any form of service will make you really, really happy, really elevate you as well. Because this is Libra, it's interaction with other people, working together, making it work, and Saturn is so good at that. And also the 10th aspect will be the 6th house, which is ruled by Saturn anyway. So Saturn is aspect in own sign, and this brings together like sixth house and also Capricorn, which is the natural 10th house of the zodiac. So this will be somebody who works for social services, possibly, maybe even working with, say, for example, in a governmental job, but they will do really well. They probably, they just have to put effort into just feeling lucky, but with time it'll be fine anyway, and they just like have a really wonderful job in that sense. And it does protect the 10th the sixth house, which is the natural 10th house of the zodiac, so it will be really, really good. For Virgo ascendant, 9th house is going to be Taurus. And Saturn for you rules 5th and 6th house. So you know that there's going to be some problems, just like Leo, in the sense that 6th house is involved. So this will be like the more you really organize yourself and work at things, the better it becomes. So this person, obviously, one of the very first things is that Saturn is sitting in Taurus, which is friendly sign. However, this is the second house of the natural zodiac. So it does give you a flavor that it's not just the father that's quite strict, but also the whole family situation can be a little bit conservative. It's like people worry about what people think about them, in that sort of sense. But generally speaking, it shouldn't really, affect things in a way, because obviously Saturn is not too bad a planet and all that, but you can see that there's going to be some discourse, some education or travel, that's or father could be poorly, there could be some debts and things occur, you incur costs because of your either travel or your education. And then from there, obviously, the 11th house will be Cancer. So this will be a third aspect of Saturn on the 11th house. Will be a bit like, so you'll be quite sensitive about your friends, how they feel about you. And your friends could also be quite nurturing in the way that they are. But if there is something that goes wrong, it can affect you quite a lot. And also, this makes one feel a little bit sensitive about their elder sibling as well. And obviously from there it's going to be aspect in the third house. And third house for you is going to be Scorpio. Scorpio obviously being that it just means that either something secretive about your friends, your colleagues, or also could be your siblings, younger siblings. But nonetheless, though, it's just like difficult for you to communicate with them, and you have to work at that. You just got to just keep at it in order to succeed. Sixth house for you now for these people is going to be Aquarius. It's the aspect in Aquarius and Saturn by the 10th aspect, and also protecting the 10th house. So it just means that these people will do really, really well. It's just the natural humanitarian sign, Aquarius, anyway, and now it's become the 6th house for you. So the more you give to that, the better it will become. You could also be a teacher to young children because of the 5th house, 6th house connection thing. So that will be very nice for you. Or just also, Saturn will elevate you the more you work, and the more gains you will have to service to the others, and will make you happy, make you successful, and this is going to just like you just got a lot of gifts to give to the world, if you like. And now let's do Libra. For Libra ascendant, this is going to be wonderful. This is like your Yoga Karaka planet, Saturn, 4th and 5th house ruler in the 9th house, creates multiple fantastic situations. So massive Raj Yoga for you. From there, Saturn is sitting in a friendly sign. And this obviously going to be somebody who is highly learned. Really, their job could be teaching or teaching how to write, social media skills. Wonderful and highly respected too, because it brings a lot of dignity to Gemini. and fourth and fifth house ruler. So amazing. So there's a lot of love to do with dad, a lot of respect. It's a chatty old dad, somebody who's just really thoughtful about everything, wants to read about, it's a father who's interesting, has got lots of interests, very engaging, very friendly dad. From there, obviously, it's aspecting the 11th house, which is going to be Leo. So you know that the friends that you have, the effort that you put into the big groups, and the gains that you have, they're very elevated. And the gains are actually then in a fixed sign as well. So you can actually hold on to your gains pretty well. And these friends of yours will be very friends with high status people. And so it's pretty good. Some of those friends can be like a little bit, you have to be quite diplomatic with them, but you can do that, being a Libra ascendant. And then what happens is then from there also is aspecting your third house of learning, education, skill sets, things like that. So it is going to be very focused on learning the right skills for the job, learning, being with varies. It just gives you that mental focus to just do the right thing, get the right situation, communicate to the right people. I mean, these are avid readers, avid writers, avid communicators. It's just going to be brilliant. And the way they communicate with their siblings is going to be very direct, very just like the sign, and they could preach a little bit to their siblings too. And obviously from there, Saturn is going to be aspecting what would be the sixth house, which is Pisces. So you know that these people are, they can get quite, if they're not careful, they can have debts and expenses for their education, that kind of thing. So I would just say, just because your sixth house is house of natural sign of expenses, losses and things like that, far away distance, then just be aware of that. Make sure you do your calculations before you go abroad, or sign up for another course or another skill set or another travel, anything like that. Just be aware of that, because that can create jobs for you. But these are very imaginative ways of how to be charitable to other people, really creative people. Also, they could use psychic abilities to be of service to the others. Just they can connect really well with the other realms. For then for Scorpio ascendant, ninth house will be Saturn in Cancer. So this shows the whole family and father. This kind of gives you a flavour of parents. It's going to be quite cool and like almost like walking on eggshells sometimes because of the rigidity. So I would probably say, I always think Saturn Cancer or Saturn Moon can be a little bit difficult. So we have to just really not focus on too much thinking, and just remember that mind can have, I don't know, I've heard something like they can have 40 million or 40 billion thoughts a day. They're not real. Don't be overthinking, and don't. I mean, you can be a little bit sensitive about what your dad says to you, your teachers, and that could kind of scar you a little bit. So just be aware that this is just one of those things that you have to just be aware of your. Mental health is important, so you don't want to just overthink things and everything becomes like a major thing to think about. Just be able to compartmentalize, see the good things, and see also that everything has got a good and bad side, and just not be too sensitive about it. Or you could show that your dad had very strict upbringing as well, and there was quite a lot of expectations on him, and that's made him quite aloof, quite unavailable, and that's his protection mechanism. But obviously you know about astrology, so you can actually look after that, and you could be you could be quite caring and nurturing towards your dad, and just don't take things too personally if he's just his way of speaking to you is just a bit harsh. And it does get better. You know, at the end of the day, you know, if it's all about like learning to deal with what we have in our charts, isn't it? So from there is obviously going to be aspect in the 11th house, and for your 11th house will be house of will be Virgo, which is the natural sixth house of the zodiac. So this will mean that gains will not be that easy in a sense. But the more you put effort into it and you clear your debts, the better the gains will be. And some of your friends could also be your enemies. Just being careful. I would definitely never lend any money to any friends with that kind of placement, because you lose your friend and you lose your money too. And Saturn will have a difficult time asking for the money back. Then from there is also aspecting, so we'll be aspecting the, let me just think about that. Okay, so yeah, from there it's going to be aspecting the third house, which is Capricorn. So it's going to really protect Capricorn. Capricorn is the natural 10th house of zodiac. So some things at work could be to do with speaking, communicating, that kind of stuff. It's also going to be aspecting the sixth house for you guys. For your sixth house is going to be where Saturn is debilitated. These people are really not going to kind of find it very difficult to be of service to the others. They find the whole mundane things about life very difficult. You know, like getting up, getting washed, getting dressed, getting themselves organised and managing self will be difficult for them. There's a level of laziness as well, and that all of that. The more you do deal with things, you know, get yourself into. You need routine and discipline. This is definitely something that you need to do in order to gain more out of your life, out of your work, and get over your debts and all that kind of stuff. So just bearing in mind that Saturn's third, aspect on the third house is going to be good. You know, you ask for help. You know, communicate that to your dad, to your parents, and also your siblings. You know, and take the advice, because you know it might be that for you advice, you'll be sensitive to other people's advice, but really they just want to help you. So it's literally just all about consistency and hard work. The more you put effort into things, the more things you actually, they're magic things for yourself. You bring the luck into your life and tap into the ninth house of happiness and opportunities and things. Then we have for Sagittarius ascendant. For you, your ninth house will be Leo. Now this is going to be your second and third house ruler in the ninth house, Leo. Not very comfortable for Saturn. This is Saturn's enemy sign. And this is going to give like a father who's quite strict, quite set in their ways, and high expectations of everything. So you probably feel like you don't feel good enough, you know, good enough for your dad. Your dad expectations are high, or maybe your teachers have had really high expectations of you, or the whole religious thing, that family relations, family religion and expectations could be a little bit too much for you. But you know, just hang in there and things will be good. And the truth is that once you actually really work at that higher education, you know, put the hard work in and travel and being with your dad and always smiling, you know, just trying to elevate your dad. Then by doing that, putting effort into the ninth house, then you actually gain from it, because the 11th house for you, the third aspect of Saturn, will be on where Saturn is exalted. So the more effort you put into, the higher education will bring massive gains for you. Travel will do the same. You might be a really good teacher and really gain a lot from that. So that will be, honestly, it will be really hard, but it will be, the more you put into it, the better it becomes. You really need to look after your, you know, muscles and skeletal system, because of Saturn and Sun together. Just make sure, you know, because it can give person stiffness and inflamed joints and things like that. Treat yourself to a massage every now and then. Don't be harsh on exercise. Don't do anything too harsh. But just make sure you always stretch your muscles. Take nice baths with Epsom salt, things like relax, stretch will be really good. It is also aspecting your third house, and it rules the third house, Aquarius. So you know that your friends will be lovely friends, and you'll take a lot of, you'll probably keep them for life, because this is going to be a very what you call, it's a fixed sign, and it's the last fixed sign of the zodiac, and it's ruled by Saturn anyway. So long-term friends, and you're very eco-friendly, you know, respecting the planet type friends too, and as are your siblings too. And even though you're, you know, normally you're not that good at communications, but actually for this ascendant it's not too bad. But yeah, it's pretty good. Learning skills, moving, hobbies, things like that will be really good for you. Just keep yourself moving. And obviously then it's also aspect in 6th house, and 6th house will be Taurus for you. And you know that the more you approach work and 6th house stuff with nutrition, good food, good relationship with you know, self-care and daily routine and everything else, the better it will be. It's natural 2nd house to the zodiac, so it actually restricts the person's eating a little bit. So they'll be good at fasting and exercise, things like that. But generally speaking, it does this will elevate the person in their work in a sense, because Saturn will be in a friendly sign. And it's aspecting the 3rd house as well. So it could be that they actually work for themselves because of 3rd and 6th house. Because when the 3rd house is strong, it just means that you put a lot of effort into it, and often those sort of people want to work for themselves rather than working for somebody else. Then for Capricorn ascendant, this 9th house will be Virgo. So you know, you could have like a dad who's always picking at what's not done, so quite critical dad, doesn't see the big picture, sees the small picture, which is a bit difficult. So I can imagine that can be difficult. However, Saturn is in a friendly sign, and the father would be intellectual, could be a very good teacher, could be a really good litigation lawyer, you know, help people out of debt, really good at service, could be a doctor or something like that form of nature of the dad. But nonetheless, they could be quite critical, and the dad could have also had debts in their life that they're always tackling. Definitely your education could give you debts, and from there it's going to be aspecting by a 3rd aspect, is going to be aspecting 11th house, which is house of Scorpio. So this 11th house, Scorpio, means that your friends could be of secret nature, secret cults, secret societies, that kind of thing. And so you've got to be careful not to fall into them, because there could be some secrets about them that could be a little bit dark. And then for Saturn then also aspects the 3rd house, which is the 12th house and natural zodiac. So these people could really speak very good foreign languages, and traveling and learning languages, and the way people, you know, and you could actually write things when you're abroad, and do like blogs and vlogs and whatever like that. But generally speaking, foreign languages could be a really nice theme for you, and could have foreign friends, or your sibling could be living abroad. And then also from there, obviously, is aspecting 10th aspect of Saturn on what will be the 6th house, and that is going to be Gemini. So you know that their work could have something to do with computers, information, data, that form of thing, giving people information, helping people get the right information to make the right decisions. And yeah, so it's going to be like, it's a good aspect, that, because it's a friendly sign also. So for the Capricorn ascendants, having that, it just means that Saturn slows down the 2 Mercury signs. So if Mercury is also a friendly sign to Saturn as well. So their work could be they could be wonderful teachers and teach young people in that sense as well. And their dad, as I said, they could be also teaching too. And then we have for Aquarius ascendant, for you guys, For Aquarius, ninth house Saturn will be Saturn exalted in Libra, which is amazing. Saturn is going to be like the 12th and first house ruler in the ninth house. Obviously, it just means that the father could have been absent, or the father could live abroad or been unavailable to you, or he could also sometimes give you like a foster father or adopted, or a second dad, if the lady has married again, and that could be the relationship between you will be amazing. So you will really enjoy it. You will enjoy all things to do with ninth house. You feel lucky, you feel as though you have opportunities, you travel, it's good for your education, for your religious beliefs, and it could also be that in your work you are also a lawyer, somebody who deals with commerce, any form of litigation, any form of teaching, really like a professor of theology. Amazing, really good. And whether or not your dad was absent or whatever, it doesn't matter, because this creates a really nice Raja Yoga anyway, so it's amazing. And then for it's going to be aspect in the 11th house, which is the 11th house will be Sagittarius. So this will be putting lots of effort into gains, but we're very focused on gains. And they want to have friends who are quite of the same belief system, of the same religion, or well-traveled, well-educated, cultured people. Then also it's aspect in the 6th house from there, which will be 6th house for you is Cancer. So again, it's going to be Saturn Cancer aspect, which is a little bit difficult. But it could be a job that it could also be midwifery, working with women who maybe they've been like, it could be divorce, family separating, or it could be like like family lawyer or something like that. It could be this land, maybe. Actually, probably more like somebody who works maybe in nursing, working with mothers, or working in care, definitely care, nursing, looking after people, because it's a very nurturing sign. And then we have Pisces. So if Pisces ascendant, Saturn rules 11th and 12th house ruler. When it goes into the 9th house, will be Saturn in Scorpio, unfriendly sign. And it's also then 12th house ruler in the 9th house. So this will be a father that could be some secretive reason unavailable. Maybe the father could have, been abroad or something like that, moved abroad. But there's definitely something about the dad that you don't know. And also this could also the 8th house of natural zodiac. So when the house of education falls into that, and Saturn is in there, so you know that the person could have like had breaks in their education, and just generally speaking, there's problems maybe with the religion, family religions, father's expectations, teachers' expectations, feeling a little bit overwhelmed by the whole thing. It is also 11th house ruler in the 9th house, so it does bring about like done yoga too, but there will be some difficulties attached to it, just because Saturn also rules 12th house. So it'd be like there'd be some gains, but there'd be some expenses, some unforeseen thing happen. It's then from there is also aspect in 11th house, protecting the 11th house, and you know that the 11th house being Capricorn protects that, and protects the gains from there, and that gain, their friends are going to be people who are very, very powerful, people of importance, hardworking people who may be working for the government. Also aspect in 3rd house, which for you is going to be the sign of Taurus. So the siblings are going to be like, obviously it makes it difficult to, it does detach you. However, this is a friendly sign to Saturn, so it's going to be like their method of the way they write things, even though Saturn is going to be like not great at helping the communication, but they'll be a little bit more more Venusian in the way that they communicate with the world, generally speaking, and with their parents, not with friends and with their siblings. So it's not going to be like cut and dry. It's got that sort of Venusian use. They can use nice words and things like that in their communication too. And also it's aspect in the sixth house for them, and for you, sixth house is going to be Leo. So you know that the work is going to be something to do with politics, maybe that could be working for government, those sort of things. And it could also be like they did jobs like cadets. It could be slightly like Leo type of service jobs, which is probably more to do with government and politics. That sort of stuff will be the theme for you guys. But it's not going to be that comfortable. That's, you're not going to really enjoy that so much because of the Saturn and Leo aspect of things. But, in all fairness, whoever puts a lot of effort into the sixth house, Saturn will always give us some fruits anyway. Just likes the consistency, and you can be quite consistent and hardworking because it brings Saturn and Leo together, Saturn Sun. But it's good to just be aware that when you're exercising, doing anything like that, not to be too militant with yourself, and don't limit yourself constantly. Just be aware of your health. Don't push yourself constantly to just be the best at everything. It's good to, because it can give you a bad back and feel a little bit unsupported because of that. So it's really good for you to just don't always go running. So every now and then it's just good to have a walk, have a soak in the bath, stretch your muscles, just really look after your, don't weigh yourself down by just really putting so much effort into everything. That's it, guys. I'll see you next time. Thank you.